The Mind of Christ. Introduction. If the human being truly understood the creative power that hides behind every thought he thinks, he would rise each morning with sacred reverence. He would know that the invisible patterns moving within his mind are silently carving the landscape of his life. He would stop calling fear prudence, stop naming doubt realism, and stop confusing faith with mere hope. He would look at his thoughts as builders, invisible craftsmen shaping his destiny brick by brick. If he knew that every judgment cast upon another returns multiplied into his own experience, he would guard his words as if they were divine decrees. He would understand that heaven is not reached by dying, but by thinking rightly, by choosing moment by moment to align his mind with love, with truth, with the law of the Spirit. And then, his mornings would no longer be ordinary. They would become rituals of remembrance, the daily act of reclaiming the mind of Christ within him. For he would know that the world outside does not change first. It only reflects the secret tone of his inner world. And when that tone becomes pure, when thought and feeling rise into harmony with the divine, the universe itself must respond. Because creation, in all its vastness, listens, always, to the vibration of your mind. But man has forgotten. He walks through his days, repeating the same thoughts that built his prisons yesterday, wondering why the scenery never changes. He believes he is thinking freely, yet most of his thoughts are borrowed, inherited from fear, culture, memory, and habit. He confuses motion with progress, noise with truth, comfort with peace. And so he remains surrounded by the echoes of his own vibration, trapped inside a world he unknowingly sustains with every fearful word, every careless image, every silent complaint that crosses the mirror of his mind. Emmet Fox said that life is consciousness, that everything visible begins in the invisible. But we have become hypnotized by appearances. We fight shadows, resist outcomes, and pray for miracles while feeding the very thought patterns that block them. We speak of faith while repeating the language of doubt. We call ourselves spiritual while identifying with limitation. If man only stopped for a moment to observe his mind, he would see how thought after thought passes by, unchosen, unexamined, each one carrying its own seed of destiny. He would realize that he is not a victim of circumstance, but a gardener asleep at the gate of his own Eden. And until he wakes, the weeds of fear and resentment will continue to grow in the soil of his mind. The tragedy is not that humanity lacks power, it is that humanity misuses it. Every time you affirm lack, you plant it. Every time you imagine failure, you authorize it. Every time you resent another, you diminish yourself. And every time you think a thought unworthy of the divine image in you, you quietly step away from heaven. Not because heaven banished you, but because you forgot how to think as heaven thinks. But the moment you become aware, the instant you turn inward and claim the authority of your thought, the exile ends, for the prodigal son of consciousness has returned home. And then something shifts. Perhaps it comes in silence, in the pause between two breaths, when you finally see that everything outside you is a mirror, faithfully reflecting what you carry within. The difficult people, the closed doors, the repeated failures, they were never enemies. They were reflections of a vibration you unconsciously maintained. The world was not punishing you. It was educating you, revealing your thoughts made visible. That realization is the first crack in the illusion of powerlessness. It is the instant when you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin to ask, "What in me has created this pattern?" That question changes everything. It turns your gaze from the outer storm to the inner sky. It ends years of self-pity in a single moment of truth. Because now you see what Emmet Fox called the mental equivalent, that every condition in your life has its exact replica in your consciousness. Fear cannot produce peace. Resentment cannot create harmony. And no prayer can contradict the vibration of the heart that utters it. You cannot think of lack and attract abundance. You cannot curse another and expect to dwell in joy. The law of the mind is exact. It gives you what you are, not what you wish for. And once you know this, truly know it, something awakens inside you. A quiet authority begins to rise. You start to realize that you were never at the mercy of fate, but of your own mental habits. The outer world, with all its chaos and beauty, was only responding to the music your soul was playing. And now, for the first time, you hold the instrument consciously. This is the great moment of reversal, when guilt transforms into power, when the victim becomes the creator. Because if thought made the storm, thought can command it to be still. Now that you understand the law, you can begin the work, not of forcing reality, but of aligning with it. Emmet Fox called this the renewal of the mind, the daily act of replacing false thought with truth. You do not need to fight darkness, you only need to bring in the light. Every time a thought of fear arises, answer it with love. When worry whispers, "What if it goes wrong?" reply calmly, "God's order governs all." When the mind imagines limitation, declare silently, "Infinite intelligence opens my path." You are not arguing with reality, you are re-educating your consciousness, and consciousness is the workshop of creation. Fox said, "Change your thought and you change your life." But he also taught how to do it, through mental substitution, through spiritual rehearsal, through the deliberate choice of divine ideas. If resentment appears, replace it instantly with the image of forgiveness. If lack appears, see yourself surrounded by abundance until you feel gratitude rise. If sickness speaks, affirm silently, "The life of God flows through every cell of my being," not to escape the world, but to remind the world who commands it. Because what you hold in consciousness must take form. That is not poetry, it is law. The universe itself cannot resist the vibration of a thought sustained with love, faith, and feeling. So begin now. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Start with one situation that troubles you. Instead of reacting, withdraw inward for 5 seconds. Lift the thought higher. Ask yourself, what would the mind of Christ think about this? Then hold that thought until peace returns. Do this often and you will prove the teaching for yourself. Soon you'll notice that the world responds. People soften, doors open, patterns shift, because you have changed the cause behind the effect. You have remembered that you are not a product of circumstance, but the expression of divine intelligence in motion. And in that remembrance, something miraculous happens. You stop trying to fix your life and begin to radiate it. Peace becomes your atmosphere, harmony becomes your habit, love becomes your law, and the world, sensing that new vibration, rearranges itself in perfect order. And so, the secret is no longer a secret. Heaven was never far away, it was only hidden behind your thoughts. The kingdom of God was not waiting above the clouds, it was waiting for you to think as God thinks, to look at the world and say, "It is good," to look at yourself and know, "I am one with the source that created me." Every time you forgive, you open a window in the prison of the mind. Every time you choose love over judgment, you move from shadow to sun. Every time you think rightly, you participate in the divine act of creation. The same force that set galaxies spinning now moves through your own consciousness. This is what Emmet Fox meant when he said, "You can have no better thing than the mind of Christ." It is not a mystical ideal. It is the natural state of an awakened being. To live with the mind of Christ is to see the invisible order behind all appearances. It is to walk through storms without fear, to speak truth without anger, to serve life without seeking reward. It is to know that you are a lens through which the infinite perceives itself. The world will not always understand this peace in you. It may still test, challenge, and misunderstand. But within, something greater has taken its throne, and once divine order is established in consciousness, no outer chaos can overthrow it. So tonight, before you sleep, release every false thought. Lay down every story of lack and fear. Whisper within, "Let this mind be in me, which was also in Christ." Then rest, knowing that the power that shaped the stars is even now renewing your mind, healing your body, and rearranging your world in perfect law. For the thought of God in you is the seed of a new creation, and the moment you think with it, you become the light of the world. But this is only the beginning. To think with the mind of Christ is to enter a new world, one where every thought becomes a creative command and every feeling shapes the substance of reality. The next step is to learn how to think from the spirit, not the senses. To see beyond appearances and let divine intelligence lead every thought, because the moment you stop thinking about God and begin to think with God, life itself begins to transform. Chapter 1. How to think from the spirit, not the senses. Most people live as prisoners of their senses. They believe only what their eyes can see, their ears can hear, and their hands can touch. But the senses, though sacred, were never meant to rule consciousness. They were meant to serve it. The outer world is only a delayed reflection of an inner vibration. By the time the eyes behold, creation has already occurred. If you rely solely on the testimony of your senses, you are always late, always reacting to the residue of thought. And yet humanity has built its gods upon appearances, the god of money, of status, of fear. We forget that the invisible spirit is the architect behind all form, the silent cause behind every visible effect. Emmet Fox said that to think from the spirit is to reverse the world's order of causation, to cease believing in effects as causes, and to think from the invisible as the only reality. When you do, you stop being a spectator of life and become a participant in divine creation. For spirit does not describe conditions, it defines them. It does not react, it creates. And when your mind unites with spirit, you begin to think as creation itself thinks, silently, powerfully, and without resistance. But the human mind is addicted to appearances. It sees a lack and believes it is real. It feels pain and calls it truth. It measures life by evidence, forgetting that evidence is merely the shadow of belief. You may say, "I am poor," because your senses report it. But that statement is not observation, it is agreement. You have unconsciously signed a contract with illusion. You may say, "I am sick," because your body feels it, yet that too is only an effect of yesterday's thought. By repeating it, you renew its power. This is the great hypnosis of matter, the belief that what appears is final. But the senses only show you what you once accepted as possible. To keep believing them is to worship the echo instead of the voice. Emmet Fox wrote that sense thinking binds man to limitation, while spiritual thinking restores dominion. To think with the senses is to live by reaction. To think with the spirit is to live by revelation. And this is the battle within every human heart, the pull of appearance against the whisper of truth. It begins the moment you question your perception. You look at a problem and feel the old reflex rising, fear, urgency, despair. But instead of obeying it, you pause. You whisper inwardly, "Wait. Is this the truth or merely the report of my senses?" That single question separates the sleeping mind from the awakened one. Suddenly you realize you have lived most of your life reacting to mirages, chasing forms instead of causes, trying to fix the shadow instead of adjusting the light. You see how much time you've wasted begging conditions to change while leaving your consciousness untouched. The true awakening is not mystical, it is psychological clarity. You see that nothing outside has independent power. No circumstance, no person, no event can act apart from the vibration of your thought. The moment you feel this truth, even dimly, something breaks open inside. You begin to understand that you are not a body trying to reach God. You are spirit expressing through the body, learning to remember its source. And this realization carries immense power. If appearances come from thought, then changing thought changes everything. Here is how to practice thinking from the spirit. First, separate appearance from reality. When faced with a problem, name it silently. This is an appearance. That phrase breaks hypnosis. It lifts you from effect back to cause. Second, declare the spiritual truth behind the appearance. If you see lack, affirm abundance. If you see sickness, affirm life. If you feel fear, affirm divine order. Not to deny the world, but to redefine it. You are rewriting the blueprint from which reality takes shape. Third, feel the truth as if it were already established. Emmet Fox insisted that feeling is the magnet that draws the invisible into form. You cannot think mechanically and expect miracles. You must feel the spiritual reality until it becomes more vivid than the sensory illusion. Practice this daily, in small moments. When someone offends you, instead of reacting, affirm silently, "The Christ in me beholds the Christ in them." When the bank account looks empty, whisper, "Infinite supply moves through me now." When you feel unworthy, close your eyes and say, "I am the image and likeness of divine intelligence." At first, the senses will argue. They will show you a contradiction. But stand firm, because the law of mind cannot fail. Persist, and the invisible will reshape the visible. It always has. It always will. To think from the Spirit is to live ahead of your senses, to walk by faith, not by sight. It is to become a conscious cause rather than a conditioned effect. Soon you will see the proof. Chaotic circumstances begin to harmonize. People respond differently. Doors open where walls once stood. But the true miracle is not the change in form. It is the awakening of power within. Because once you learn to think from the Spirit, you can never again be deceived by appearances. You will look at the storm and know peace is its origin. You will look at lack and sense abundance quietly waiting beneath it. You will look at your reflection and recognize not flesh and shadow, but light in expression. This is mastery. Not control over others, but dominion over illusion. Not blind optimism, but spiritual vision. To think from the Spirit is to live as Christ lived, seeing beyond appearances, speaking with authority, and resting in the unshakable knowing that all is well. But there is one more law to master, a law older than any scripture and closer than your heartbeat. It is the law that governs the bridge between thought and manifestation. In the next chapter, you will learn how the law of mental equivalence shapes every event, relationship, and possibility in your life, and how to consciously create your world from the unseen blueprint of your mind. Chapter 2. The Law of Mental Equivalence. Everything in your life, every condition, every relationship, every opportunity or limitation, is an exact replica of your inner state of consciousness. This is not a poetic exaggeration. It is a spiritual law as exact as gravity. Emmet Fox called it the law of mental equivalence. It states that the outer world must mirror the inner world just as faithfully as a reflection in still water. Whatever image you hold in mind, clearly, persistently, and emotionally charged, must reproduce itself in your experience. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are conscious of being. Your environment, finances, and health are not random events. They are the visible portraits painted by the invisible hand of your thought. If your consciousness is filled with anxiety, the world will echo uncertainty. If you are steeped in gratitude and faith, the world will open in beauty and order. The universe is impartial. It simply reflects the vibration you sustain. Fox said, "You are continually drawing into your life conditions that correspond to your habitual thoughts and feelings. Therefore, the key to transformation is not in rearranging outer events, but in creating a new mental equivalent of what you truly desire to live." But here lies the great misunderstanding. Most people spend their lives trying to change effects while leaving the cause untouched. They chase after wealth while thinking of lack. They pray for health while rehearsing fear. They speak of peace while sowing conflict in thought and word. They wish for blessings, yet their mental equivalents are filled with images of limitation, unworthiness, and defeat. And so the law, ever faithful, produces the only harvest it can, more of the same. Consider this. Every fear is a form of imagination. When you dwell on what you dread, you are rehearsing it in consciousness, and by the precision of universal law, you are preparing the soil for its appearance. The mind is a projector, not a mirror. It does not record what happens, it causes what happens. Fox compared it to a slide on a lantern. The light of spirit shines continuously, but the image projected depends entirely on the slide you place before it. If the picture is distorted, you do not blame the light, you change the slide. Yet humanity does not see this. We pray for new circumstances while clinging to old beliefs. We speak of faith while secretly expecting failure. We carry resentment in the heart and wonder why joy does not visit. The law is merciless only in its accuracy. It cannot give you what contradicts your dominant mental image. That is why the poor in thought remain poor even when money arrives, for their consciousness cannot sustain abundance. That is why the lonely in heart remain isolated even among crowds, for they have not yet accepted their own worthiness of love. The world does not mock us, it teaches us. It reveals our own thought forms made visible. To fight appearances is to quarrel with our own reflection. The only lasting victory is inner transformation. There comes a moment when you finally see it, the silent pattern repeating through your life. Different faces, different places, same vibration. Perhaps you have changed jobs, moved cities, ended relationships, yet the same lessons return wearing new masks. This is not fate. This is the law of mental equivalence, revealing your unfinished thought. You begin to sense that everything you have called reality is in truth a mental replica of your own beliefs. Your consciousness has been sending out silent orders to the universe, and the universe, perfectly obedient, has delivered everyone. This realization can feel heavy at first. It exposes how unconsciously we've lived. But stay with it, because in that awareness lies your freedom. If thought created your bondage, thought can create your liberation. If belief built your limitation, belief can dissolve it. Emmet Fox taught that every problem exists only because you have a mental equivalent that supports it, an internal image that matches it. The moment you replace that image, the outer condition must dissolve because its cause no longer exists. So ask yourself, what is the mental equivalent I have been carrying? If you want peace but secretly believe you are unworthy of rest, your equivalent is conflict. If you seek abundance but hold resentment toward those who prosper, your equivalent is resistance. If you desire love but see yourself as broken, your equivalent is separation. Every desire is already complete in the mind of God, but you must form the mental mold through which it can flow into your experience. Until you do, you stand outside the gate of your own creation. So, how do you build a new mental equivalent? First, identify what you truly desire. Not what the senses crave, but what the spirit within you longs to express. It may be health, harmony, creative power, or peace. Write it clearly in one sentence. Now close your eyes and imagine what life feels like when that desire is fulfilled. Not merely seen but felt, vivid, natural, unquestioned. Second, dissolve every mental picture that contradicts it. Whenever fear appears, recognize it as an old pattern seeking survival. Do not fight it. Replace it. Emmet Fox said, "The only way to get rid of darkness is to let in light." When the mind shows you failure, envision success until joy rises. When it whispers unworthiness, affirm, "I am a child of the infinite. The universe delights to express itself through me." Third, dwell daily in the vibration of the fulfilled state. Spend 5 minutes morning and night imagining your desired reality as already true. Feel gratitude as if it had already manifested. This feeling is not fantasy. It is creation in motion. Your subconscious accepts every idea impressed with emotion as fact, and the universe rushes to embody it. Do this faithfully, and your world will change. Not because luck has turned, but because you have turned the key of law. You will see new opportunities, meet new people, and notice new harmony. Not miracles from nowhere, but reflections of your new mental equivalent forming in substance. Every event in your life is a message written by your own thought. You are not a beggar at the door of fate. You are the architect of form. The law is perfect. It never forgets, never delays, never fails. When you understand this, you stop asking if your dreams will come true. You begin asking when your belief will match theirs. Because the law cannot deny you, it can only reflect you. Think of it this way. The infinite mind has already said yes to everything. The only variable is the image you hold before it. Change the image and the form must follow. This is why Jesus said, "According to your faith be it unto you." Faith is not blind hope. It is mental equivalence, the clear, sustained knowing of what already is in spirit. To believe is to align your vibration with divine truth until it becomes visible as matter. The outer world is a divine mirror. It does not reward or punish, it only reveals. If you wish to see a new reflection, smile first within. Build your equivalent in silence and love, then step into a world transformed. For when the image in the mind matches the ideal in the heart, creation has no choice but to obey. You are not waiting for the universe to change. The universe has been waiting for you to think rightly. Every moment is the seed of a new equivalence. Every thought is a command. Every feeling is a sculptor's touch upon the invisible clay of your destiny. So think beautifully, feel deeply, expect divinely. For as you believe, so it shall be. But to live this law fully, you must understand the hidden power that links thought and emotion, the bridge through which ideas become energy and energy becomes form. In the next chapter, we will explore the magnetic power of feeling, how emotion charges thought with life, how love multiplies creation, and how gratitude turns invisible ideas into tangible miracles. Chapter 3. The Magnetic Power of Feeling. Every thought is a seed, but it is the feeling that gives the seed life. Without emotion, thought remains sterile, a shadow sketch with no breath, no movement, no power. Emmet Fox taught that the mind is the architect of form, but the heart is the builder. Only when an idea is felt as real does it descend into the creative substance of the universe. This is the magnetic law of feeling. Whatever you feel deeply, you invite. Whatever you feel consistently, you become. The universe listens not to your words, but to your vibration. You can repeat affirmations for years and see no change, because words spoken without feeling are like arrows without a string. But one moment of pure conviction, one instant of felt certainty, has the power to rewrite the entire pattern of your life. Feeling is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. It is the current that turns thought into energy, energy into form, and form into experience. When thought and feeling unite, creation begins, yet most people live divided. They think one thing, feel another, and wonder why their prayers return unanswered. They affirm abundance while feeling lack. They declare health while fearing disease. They speak of love while vibrating resentment. This inner contradiction dissolves power. It's like sending two opposing currents through the same wire. The result is a short circuit and confusion. And so, even with good intentions, they create from mixed frequencies. Emmet Fox warned of this when he said, "You cannot keep affirming peace while cherishing irritation and expect results. Your words may call for heaven, but if your feelings vibrate fear, the universe must mirror fear, not as punishment, but as precision. For feeling is the language of the soul. It communicates directly with the infinite. The law does not respond to what you say, it responds to what you are, and what you are is defined by what you feel most often. Look closely at your life, and you will see your feelings written everywhere. Anxiety becomes chaos in certain circumstances. Confidence becomes opportunity. Bitterness becomes stagnation. Gratitude becomes grace. Your outer conditions are emotional fossils, hardened imprints of past feelings, now crystallized in form. And until feeling changes, form cannot. There comes a moment when this truth pierces you like lightning. You realize that your emotions, the ones you thought harmless, passing, invisible, have been silently shaping the world around you. That every burst of anger left a mark in the field. That every quiet fear became a silent blueprint for tomorrow. That every wave of gratitude, though unseen, built bridges where logic found none. It's a humbling realization. You are always feeling creation into being. The question is not whether you are manifesting, but what you are manifesting. And this is where power returns. Because once you see that emotion is creative, you can no longer afford to indulge in states that betray your soul. You begin to guard your feelings as a sacred garden. You understand why Jesus said, "When ye pray, believe that ye receive." He didn't mean to pretend. He meant to feel the answer as present, to vibrate with the reality of what is already true in spirit. The law of the universe has no resistance. It is your own divided feeling that blocks its flow, and when that division ends, when your feeling and your thought become one, miracles are not rare, they are inevitable. Here is how to apply the magnetic law of feeling. First, learn to become emotionally aware. Pause often during the day and ask, what am I feeling right now? Not what you're thinking, what you're feeling. Because the feeling is the signal you are broadcasting to the universe. Second, deliberately shift your inner tone. You cannot always change the outer event, but you can always change the inner vibration. If fear rises, breathe deeply and remember, this too is a vibration I can redirect. Then consciously replace it with the emotion that corresponds to your desired state. If you want peace, generate peace. If you want abundance, feel gratitude now. Not later, now. Third, practice what Emmet Fox called feeling the prayer answered. Before you speak a single word of affirmation, let your heart enter the condition you seek. If you pray for health, feel the joy of being whole. If you pray for success, feel the confidence of accomplishment. If you pray for guidance, feel the serenity of knowing you are led. This act of emotional alignment opens the inner gate through which divine energy flows freely. It dissolves resistance and magnetizes conditions of like vibration. The more deeply you feel a truth, the faster it manifests. But remember, the feeling must be pure. Fear-coated affirmations carry no power. Only those steeped in conviction reach the field of creation. Fourth, sustain the vibration through gratitude. Gratitude is the stabilizer of emotion. It converts fleeting states into permanent frequency. When you practice gratitude, you tell the universe, this vibration is who I choose to be. And the universe answers, then so it shall be. Do this daily, not mechanically, but as a sacred communion. Close your eyes each morning and generate the feeling of peace, love, success, or harmony. Hold it for 60 seconds. Feel it radiate through your body. This is the true prayer without ceasing. Constant emotional alignment with the divine. When you master feeling, you master creation. You no longer chase outcomes, you radiate them. You no longer beg for answers, you embody them. For the soul that feels the presence of God cannot fear the absence of anything else. Every moment offers you two frequencies, one born of fear, one born of faith. Choose the higher, and your world begins to reorganize around your new vibration. People will call it luck, but you will know it was the law. This is why Emmet Fox said that emotion is the engine of prayer. The intellect may understand truth, but only feeling makes it real. Only when the heart believes does the world respond. And so, every time you love when it's easier to resent, every time you bless when it's easier to complain, every time you smile in trust while the senses still tremble, you are bending the laws of energy toward harmony. You are instructing creation to mirror divine order. To feel is to claim power. To feel rightly is to think as God thinks. And to live in a sustained feeling of peace, joy, and gratitude is to dwell permanently in the kingdom within. The outer world follows those who have mastered their inner tone, because the heart, once aligned with spirit, becomes a magnet for miracles. Feel then as if the good you desire were already here. Live in that emotion until it becomes your natural state, and soon the outer world will rise to meet the vibration you have sustained within. But emotion is only half of the mystery There is still a greater force that channels it, a current through which thought and feeling merge into living power. In the next chapter, you will discover the current of faith, the invisible stream that connects human consciousness with divine mind, where belief becomes command and every impossibility begins to dissolve. Chapter 4. The Current of Faith. There is a river that runs through every soul, an invisible current that flows from the infinite mind into the heart of man. That current is called faith. Faith is not belief in miracles. Faith is the miracle, the invisible bridge between idea and form, heaven and earth, thought and manifestation. It is the quiet knowing that divine intelligence governs all, even when the senses see chaos. Faith is not the denial of appearances, it is the mastery of them. Emmet Fox said that faith is the perceiving power of the mind, linked with the power to shape substance. When you think and feel from faith, you are no longer trying to make things happen. You are allowing what is eternally true to reveal itself through you. Faith is not an effort of will, it is the surrender of doubt. It is the steady pulse of divine order, moving through you even in the darkest hour. When all appearances scream impossible, faith whispers, nothing is impossible to God. Faith is the current that carries your desires from invisible substance to visible form, and the moment you step into that current, even one step, you begin to move with the creative power that built the universe itself. Yet humanity fears what it cannot see. We are taught to believe in statistics, in probability, in what our senses confirm. But spiritual law does not answer to probability. It answers to conviction. Most people approach faith as a wish, a trembling hope that somehow, if they beg long enough, God will intervene. But that is not faith. That is disguised fear wearing the language of prayer. Faith begins only when doubt ends. When you stop asking if good will come, and start knowing that good is already present in essence, awaiting only your recognition. Emmet Fox compared faith to an electric current. You do not need to understand how it works to use it, but you must make the contact. A wire disconnected from the source cannot light a lamp. A mind disconnected from faith cannot illuminate its path. The tragedy is not that people lack power, it is that they refuse to believe they already have it. They pray for strength while declaring weakness. They speak of divine supply while rehearsing lack. They look to the heavens while denying the spark within. Faith cannot coexist with self-pity. It cannot flow through the mind that measures God by evidence. It belongs to those who know, who dare to think as the universe thinks, without limitation, and one day something happens. A crisis, a loss, a breaking point, and the senses collapse. All your careful logic fails. The path disappears beneath your feet. You are left with nothing but the void. And in that void the ego panics. But the soul smiles because at last you are ready to see what has always been there. That faith begins where sight ends. You realize that what you called hopelessness was only the moment before surrender. The moment when the mind releases control and lets the infinite take the lead. In that stillness, you feel something gentle but absolute. A warmth beneath the ribs, a peace that needs no proof. That is the current of faith touching your heart. You begin to understand what Jesus meant when he said, "If you have faith as a grain of mustard seed, nothing shall be impossible unto you." It was not quantity he referred to, it was quality. One spark of genuine faith contains more creative power than 1,000 fearful prayers. And once you feel it, even for an instant, you know, you are not separate from divine order. You are carried by it, sustained by it, animated by it. The current never stopped flowing. You had only stepped out of it. How then do you live in faith, not as belief, but as vibration? First, learn to recognize doubt for what it is. Inverted faith. Doubt is faith in disorder. It is a belief in the power of evil instead of the power of good. The remedy is simple but profound. Shift your allegiance. Each time fear speaks, silently affirm, only divine order is real. Repeat it not as superstition but as remembrance. You are aligning the mind with its true source. Second, practice the feeling of faith. Faith is not thought alone, it is a state of vibration. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and imagine what it feels like to be completely safe in the universe. Feel the quiet strength of divine intelligence guiding every detail of your life. Let that feeling replace anxiety. Stay in it until peace anchors in the body. Third, cultivate evidence of unseen order. Notice how every apparent delay eventually reveals purpose. Remember how past obstacles became stepping stones. These recollections strengthen the nervous system of faith. They teach the mind that the universe is trustworthy. Fourth, act as though what you desire is already true. Fox said, Act as if it were impossible to fail, and it will be. This is not arrogance. It is cooperation with the law. When you act from faith, the invisible responds to your certainty. Doors open not because you forced them, but because you matched their vibration. Finally, speak from the language of faith. Let your words carry conviction. Let your tone reflect calm authority. When you speak, let the energy behind your voice declare, "I know who governs my life." For faith, expressed through word and feeling, is a creative command. Faith is not something you build. It is something you uncover. It is already within you, buried beneath layers of fear, logic, and memory. To awaken faith is to return to your natural state, to remember that you and the divine were never separate. The current of faith flows through all creation, through every atom, every heartbeat, every sunrise. It is the invisible pulse, holding galaxies in orbit and holding you in being. And when you align with it, life no longer feels random. You begin to see the exquisite intelligence orchestrating all things. The mind at peace draws order. The heart at rest draws miracles. The soul that trusts becomes a channel through which divine will can move freely. Faith does not demand evidence, it produces it. It does not beg for light, it shines it. And when you dwell in this current, you become like the river, flowing, unresisting, alive. Every prayer becomes a vibration of gratitude. Every step becomes a declaration of trust. And the world, sensing your certainty, bends quietly to meet it. Emmet Fox wrote, "When you know the truth, you are free. And the truth is that God is the only power there is. To live by faith is to live in that truth, to walk through darkness and still know that the light never left. So let this be your silent vow, to think as spirit thinks, to feel as love feels, to move as faith moves, and to let the current of divine order carry you home. But faith, once awakened, seeks expression. It must pour itself into action, into word, deed, and creative service. For the power of God within you is not meant to remain potential. It longs to become visible through your life. In the next chapter, we'll explore the word that commands reality, how thought, charged with faith, becomes decree, and how your spoken word, aligned with divine consciousness, shapes the very substance of the world around you. Chapter 5. The Word that Commands Reality. In the beginning was the Word. Those 7 words are not history. They are the law. The entire universe, from the smallest atom to the farthest star, is an echo of a divine utterance. Every form you see, every event that unfolds, every destiny that manifests, all began as a vibration, a thought clothed in sound, a decree spoken by consciousness itself. The word is not merely language, it is vibration directed by awareness. It is the way spirit shapes the invisible into form. Emmet Fox said that, "Your word is your wand. It is the creative instrument through which divine intelligence moves. Each time you speak, you send a command into the field of creation. You may not see it, but the universe hears it and obeys. Every I am you pronounce becomes law to your subconscious mind. When you say, 'I am tired,' life agrees. When you say, 'I am strong,' the infinite energy within you responds. The word calls unseen forces into being. So guard your words, for they are sacred. They are not sounds passing through air. They are seeds entering the soil of the universe. But man, forgetting his creative power, speaks carelessly. He uses words as noise, not as law. He declares lack, repeats complaint, affirms fear, and then wonders why his life echoes the same tones. He does not realize that his conversations are decrees, that every casual statement writes new instructions into the book of his destiny. Emmet Fox warned, "Do not talk failure or fear, for the subconscious has no sense of humor. It takes you at your word. Each time you speak of limitation, you reinforce the vibration that sustains it. The mind accepts your speech as a command. The universe responds in kind. How often have you said, 'Nothing ever works out for me'? and found the world agreeing? How often have you uttered, "I can't afford it," and watched opportunities vanish from your reach? These are not coincidences, they are confirmations of law. The spoken word, charged with emotion, imprints the creative substance around you. It forms the pattern through which your future must flow. We pray for change, yet our words contradict our prayers. We ask for healing while affirming disease. We declare prosperity while confessing struggle. And in this contradiction, creation remains suspended, pulled in opposite directions by the double-mindedness of our speech. The power of the word never weakens. It simply obeys the tone in which it is spoken. Imagine this. Every word you have ever spoken still vibrates in the field of your life. Some of those words build bridges, others build walls. Some open paths of light, others weave nets of fear. One day, you begin to notice the pattern. How your speech always predicts your experience, how your habitual phrases mirror the conditions you face, and suddenly it hits you. I have been prophesying my own reality. That realization can shake you, and it should, because it means you are not a victim of fate. You are its author. Your word is the pen, your emotion the ink, your belief the page. From that moment, the game changes. You begin to listen differently. You hear the vibration behind every sentence you speak. You feel the creative charge in every I am. You understand that life does not respond to your intentions, but to your declarations. The world is not waiting for your dreams. It is waiting for your word. And now you stand at the threshold of divine mastery, to speak consciously, to use your word as an instrument of creation rather than destruction. Here is how to reclaim your creative word. First, become aware of your habitual speech. Spend one day listening to yourself as if you were listening to another. Notice how often your words affirm what you do not want. Every complaint, every self-limiting phrase is a spell cast against your own freedom. Second, reverse the pattern. When you hear yourself say, "I can't," replace it with, "I am learning." When you say, "I'm tired of this," replace it with, "I'm ready for transformation." You are not lying. You are directing the current of energy toward new creation. Third, anchor your speech in truth. Emmet Fox taught that divine ideas have creative authority because they are rooted in law. When you say, "I am love," you are not pretending. You are affirming what spirit already is in you. When you say, "Divine order governs my life," you are speaking from heaven into earth. That vibration reshapes substance. Fourth, infuse your words with feeling. Words without emotion are like seeds without water. When you affirm, let your heart feel the truth behind the phrase. Feel the peace when you say, "I am guided." Feel the strength when you say, "I am whole." The fusion of word and emotion creates a magnetic field that draws its equivalent into form. Fifth, speak blessings, silently or aloud, over everything and everyone. Bless your work, your food, your path, your home, and even those who oppose you. To bless is to release divine energy. To curse is to block it. The more you bless, the faster the vibration of your life ascends. Sixth, establish your daily decree. Each morning before the world speaks to you, speak to it. Say, "Today I think with divine intelligence. Today I walk in peace and purpose. Today my words are creative law, and they shall not return void." Speak these words not as hope, but as command. Because when your voice carries faith, creation moves. In the silence between one heartbeat and the next, the universe waits for your word. It does not judge what you decree. It only fulfills it. Every I am is a key turning in the lock of destiny. Every phrase charged with faith becomes substance in motion. When you understand this, you no longer speak idly. You no longer gossip, complain, or declare limitations. You become deliberate, measured, radiant in speech. For you know that the tongue holds the power of life and death, and you have chosen life. Your voice is not small. It is a thread in the fabric of creation. Every word you utter ripples through the infinite mind, altering probabilities, calling form into alignment. And as you speak with divine authority, you begin to feel heaven listening, not as a distant throne, but as a presence moving through your breath. For when the word is spoken in truth and love, it does not travel outward. It radiates inward, reshaping consciousness itself. You become the living echo of the divine word. The same power that said, "Let there be light." And there was. But speech is only the surface of creation. Beneath every word lies a deeper force, the vibration that sustains it, the inner silence from which the word is born. In the next chapter, we will enter that sacred stillness, the silence that creates worlds. Where thought ends, being begins, and the soul learns to speak without sound. Chapter 6. The Silence That Creates Worlds. There is a place within you where sound ends and power begins. It is not emptiness, it is origin. It is the quiet from which all movement arises, the unseen womb where thought is conceived before it becomes form. This is the silence that creates worlds. Before light appeared, there was stillness. Before the word was spoken, there was listening. Before creation took shape, consciousness was resting in perfect equilibrium. Emmet Fox wrote that true prayer is silent communion with God, the soul entering the presence of infinite wisdom without words. For in the depths of silence, the personal mind dissolves, and the divine mind begins to think through you. You cease to command and become the command. The silence Fox spoke of is not the absence of sound. It is presence without resistance. It is the pure awareness that exists before thought, before emotion, before name. It is the pulse of God at rest, waiting for your recognition. When you touch that silence, the need to strive falls away. Desire becomes knowing, fear becomes peace, and creation, once effortful, begins to unfold as naturally as dawn follows night. But the world fears silence. It fills every pause with noise, every space with distraction. We are trained to speak, to analyze, to chase, yet rarely to listen. We mistake activity for progress, thinking that motion means meaning. We run from stillness because in it our masks fall away. And yet, that very stillness we avoid holds the key to all we seek. The average mind is like a sea in a storm, waves of thought crashing endlessly, each one believing itself urgent. We think of the past, we plan the future, we rehearse conversations that never happen, and we call this living. But in that turbulence, we cannot hear the still small voice within. And that voice, Emmet Fox reminds us, is the channel of divine guidance. It speaks only in calm and only to the listening heart. When the mind is noisy, the spirit waits. When the mind becomes quiet, the spirit speaks. And because we rarely enter silence, we live as exiles from our own wisdom, searching for answers that have always been waiting in the stillness we ignore. One day, life will push you into silence, not as punishment, but as an invitation. A loss, a disappointment, a pause you didn't choose. And suddenly, the noise stops. At first, it feels like emptiness. But if you stay, if you dare not run back to distraction, something sacred happens. You begin to feel the hum beneath existence, a subtle vibration of intelligence, infinite and kind. This is what the mystics called the presence. It is not a voice in language, but a knowing that needs no words. It whispers, "You were never alone. You were never without guidance. You were never separate from me." And in that moment you realize all your seeking was sound. All your prayers were echoes in a chamber of noise. The answer was never far. It was simply silent. Emmet Fox said, "When the soul enters silence, it contacts the infinite supply." It is there, in the quiet mind, that divine ideas descend like gentle rain. Inspiration, guidance, healing, power, not from outside, but from within. Silence is not withdrawal. It is creation waiting to happen. It is the fertile ground of manifestation. Every world, every revelation, every transformation begins there. Here is how to enter the silence that creates worlds. First, become willing to stop. You cannot hear eternity while running. Set aside a few minutes each day. No phone, no goal, no agenda. Sit quietly, breathe slowly, and let the mind unwind. At first, the noise will seem unbearable. Thoughts will rise like restless waves. Do not fight them. Let them pass. You are not the noise. You are the sky behind it. Second, descend from mind to awareness. As the thoughts slow, bring attention to the space between them. That space is not absence, it is presence. Feel it as vast, still, and alive. It is the doorway to the creative field. Third, listen rather than speak. Do not ask for things. Open yourself to knowing. Fox said, "Be still and know that I am God." That knowing is not thought. It is recognition. When you touch that awareness, you realize that the answer already exists. It only awaits your stillness to be heard. Fourth, practice speaking only after silence. Before making decisions, before responding in conflict, before setting goals, enter silence first. Let the divine idea rise. It will come not as a command, but as clarity. When you act from that clarity, your actions align with divine law and outcomes harmonize effortlessly. Fifth, carry inner silence into daily life. You do not need to retreat from the world. Bring stillness into motion. Walk, work, and speak from the center of peace. Even in activity, keep part of your awareness anchored in the quiet heart. This is true meditation, not escape, but embodiment. Over time, this inner silence becomes your home. The world may shout, but you will no longer react. You will respond. Your words will carry weight, your presence will radiate calm, and your thoughts will begin to shape reality without struggle. The silence that creates worlds is not far away. It is behind every breath you take. It waits patiently for your return, like an ocean waiting for the wave to remember it was never separate. When you touch that silence, you understand creation as it truly is. Effortless, intelligent, inevitable. You realize that the divine plan unfolds not by force, but by resonance. Your desires no longer feel desperate, for you sense that everything good is already alive within you, waiting for permission to emerge. In silence, you are not trying to become, you simply are, and that realization is the highest form of power. Emmet Fox wrote, "The silence is the secret place of the Most High. He who dwells there is untouchable by fear. To dwell there is to live above the turbulence of the world, to walk among chaos untouched, to speak with the authority of peace itself. Every true teacher, every healer, every enlightened soul has drawn power from that same source. The deep stillness where divine thought whispers creation into being. And one day, as you rest in that silence, you will hear something extraordinary. Not a voice, not words, but the faint hum of life loving itself through you. You will know that you have become what you sought. Not the echo, but the sound. Not the seeker, but the source. But silence is not the end of creation. It is the beginning of power. From that silence arises the energy that shapes destiny, the light of understanding, the divine intelligence that reveals how every event in your life serves your unfolding purpose. In the next chapter, we will explore the light of understanding, how divine intelligence organizes your life, and how awareness itself becomes the architect of every miracle. Chapter 7. The Light of Understanding. There is a light that never flickers. It does not shine from the sun or the stars, yet everything that lives borrows its glow. This light is understanding, the illumination of divine intelligence within the human mind. When the clouds of confusion part, when fear loosens its grip, when judgment falls silent, this light appears, gentle, radiant, precise. It reveals that everything in your life has been guided by a wisdom deeper than logic, older than time. Emmet Fox called this light spiritual understanding, the faculty by which the human soul perceives divine order behind appearances. To the senses, life may look chaotic. To understanding, it is perfectly timed. Nothing is wasted, nothing random, nothing lost. The light of understanding does not explain, it reveals. It does not argue, it clarifies. It whispers, all things are working together for good. When that light dawns in you, even the darkest memory begins to glow with hidden meaning. You stop asking, why did this happen to me? And begin to see why it needed to happen for me. But until understanding awakens, we live blind. We stumble through experiences, calling them coincidences, tragedies, or luck. We praise when life pleases us, curse when it hurts us, never realizing that both are teachers sent from the same hand. We divide our world into good and bad, success and failure, gain and loss, and we miss the symmetry of divine design. The mind that lacks understanding interprets through fear. It cannot see purpose beyond appearance. Emmet Fox said, "Trouble is the call to unfold greater understanding." Yet when trouble comes, we resist. We fight the lesson and feed the pain. We ask for miracles while ignoring the message within the moment. Ignorance, not malice, is the true darkness of man. And that darkness persists until light breaks through, not from outside, but from within the heart that dares to listen. When you live without understanding, you move from confusion to confusion, blaming fate, people, or even God. But when understanding dawns, everything changes. You see that even pain has been a form of love, an invitation to rise into awareness. There comes a moment when the puzzle pieces begin to align. Perhaps it happens quietly. A sudden insight during prayer, a flash of clarity while walking, a word that resonates like eternity, and you realize nothing was ever against me. All the detours, all the delays, every closed door. They were part of an invisible choreography leading you back to yourself. The people who left were teachers of detachment. The failures were lessons in faith. The waiting was preparation for vision. You feel a warmth spreading in the chest, a calm joy without reason, the unmistakable signature of divine understanding. This is the moment Emmet Fox described as the dawn of spiritual light in consciousness. You no longer see through the fog of emotion. You see through the eyes of God. And what you see is order, not the fragile order of control, but the living order of wisdom. You understand that divine law has been orchestrating every detail, not as punishment or reward, but as evolution. The soul needed every experience to remember its own power. How can you awaken this light of understanding in daily life? First, pause before judgment. When something unpleasant happens, resist the reflex to label it as bad. Instead, say silently, "I may not yet see the purpose, but divine intelligence does." That statement opens the mind to guidance. Second, practice inner seeing. Each morning before the world claims your attention, close your eyes and affirm, "The light of understanding guides me today. I see beyond appearances. I walk in divine order." Hold that thought until you feel calm certainty. This creates a mental atmosphere through which intuition can flow. Third, reinterpret your past through understanding. Take one painful memory and ask, "What did this teach me? What strength was born from it?" You will find that hidden within every wound is a gift. Gratitude transforms scars into sources of wisdom. Fourth, listen for the quiet instruction behind events. Life is always speaking through circumstance. When something is delayed, it may be protecting you. When something ends, it may be freeing you. To hear that guidance, you must slow down, observe, and trust the timing. Fifth, radiate understanding toward others. When people act from fear or ignorance, they see their soul, not their behavior. Say within, "They too are learning." That inner gesture dissolves resentment and restores peace. Emmet Fox reminded his students that understanding is love, seeing clearly. When you look with understanding, you no longer attack, defend, or condemn. You become a presence of quiet wisdom in a noisy world. When the light of understanding fills you, life becomes transparent. You see through appearances to essence. You realize that nothing ever truly goes wrong. Things simply reveal what must evolve. You stop wrestling with circumstances and start collaborating with them. You stop fearing change because you sense divine intelligence guiding every shift. You begin to move through life like a dancer following unseen music, graceful, confident, at peace. Understanding does not remove mystery, it reveals meaning within it. It teaches you to trust the invisible pattern that holds everything together. And in that trust, you find freedom. For the one who understands no longer resists, and what is no longer resisted transforms. Emmet Fox wrote, "Understanding is the key to heaven on earth, for it sees God in all things." To see God in all things is to live in continuous revelation, to walk through darkness and still perceive light, to face endings and still sense beginnings, to see in every stranger the reflection of the same infinite mind. When this light becomes steady within you, peace ceases to be a mood. It becomes your atmosphere. You no longer seek miracles, you live inside them. Understanding is not learning, it is remembering. It is the rediscovery of the order that has always been there, the recognition that God has never once lost control. And when you truly know this, you walk the earth as one illumined, calm amid chaos, kind amid cruelty, clear amid confusion. For the light of understanding shines not upon you, but through you. But understanding is only the dawn. Beyond it lies union, the merging of the individual will with divine intention. In the next chapter, you will enter the law of harmony, when your will becomes God's will, where we explore how surrender is not defeat, but the highest form of creative power. Chapter 8. The Law of Harmony. There is a rhythm that moves through the entire universe. The tides, the stars, the heartbeat, the breath, all pulsing in one sacred cadence. This rhythm is the law of harmony, the music of divine order expressed through all creation. When you are aligned with it, life unfolds with quiet precision. Every step feels guided. Every moment seems purposeful. You are no longer forcing your path, you are flowing with it. Emmet Fox taught that harmony is not something you create, it is something you uncover. It is the natural state of the soul when fear and resistance have fallen silent. It is the peace that comes not from escaping conflict, but from understanding that conflict was never real, only dissonance within thought. Harmony is the sound of the soul remembering God. It is the invisible correspondence between what you think, what you feel, and what you are becoming. It is divine intelligence expressing itself as effortless balance. When you dwell in harmony, you no longer struggle to make things happen. You allow things to happen through you. And in that allowance lies the highest form of mastery, the surrender of personal will to divine order. But most people live in dissonance. They think one thing, feel another, and act from fear. They want peace, but feed worry. They seek success, but think lack. They speak of love, but carry resentment. Their inner orchestra plays out of tune, and they call the resulting noise life. They try to fix outer problems without adjusting the inner key. They struggle, resist, force, never realizing that the universe does not respond to effort, but to resonance. As long as the inner tone vibrates with conflict, the outer world must echo it. Emmet Fox wrote that, when harmony is established in consciousness, every outer problem dissolves itself. But humanity keeps searching for peace in changing circumstances, rather than in changing vibration. We blame fate, politics, family, even heaven itself. Yet every discord we experience is an invitation to align more deeply with the rhythm of divine order. The pain you feel is the note calling you back to tune, and until you learn the lesson, the same theme will repeat. Not as punishment, but as patient instruction. Harmony does not mean the absence of challenge. It means knowing that the challenge itself is part of a greater melody. One day you realize how much energy you've wasted fighting life, fighting people, fighting time, fighting what already is. And in that exhaustion, you pause. For the first time you hear the silence behind the noise, a subtle rhythm beating beneath all things. You sense that life has never been against you. It has been guiding you to let go. That moment of surrender is the first taste of harmony. You see that everything you resisted was trying to bring you into alignment. The closed doors protected you. The delays trained you. The heartbreak softened you. The loss emptied you for the greater good to enter. You understand what Fox meant when he said, "There is no such thing as injustice in the universe." Every discord is a temporary illusion produced by partial vision. See the whole picture, and the disharmony disappears. That realization shatters the illusion of struggle. It awakens an inner trust so deep that even chaos becomes part of your faith. Here is how to live under the law of harmony. First, stop fighting appearances. Whenever something seems wrong, do not react with fear. Instead, affirm silently, "Divine order is now working through this situation for the highest good of all." That statement aligns your vibration with the law. It calls the unseen harmony back into motion. Second, practice inner tuning. Before you act, speak, or decide, pause. Ask yourself, am I moving from peace or from tension? If it's tension, wait. Harmony never rushes, it moves in perfect timing. When your inner state feels balanced, act, and the universe will support that movement. Third, use forgiveness as a tuning fork. Resentment is the most common source of dissonance. Each time you forgive, you remove a false note from your inner song. Say often, "I release everyone to their highest good, and I am free." This is not moral virtue, it is energetic alignment. Fourth, cultivate gratitude as your daily rhythm. Gratitude synchronizes you with abundance. It retunes the mind to the melody of divine sufficiency. When you wake, say, "Thank you for this breath, this life, this chance to harmonize again." And when you sleep, review your day through the eyes of appreciation. Fifth, withdraw from inner arguments. If your mind insists on worry, do not argue, simply become still. Silence is the tuning chamber of the soul. In stillness, the scattered notes of thought rearrange themselves into order. Over time, as you practice these steps, life begins to sing differently. People respond more kindly. Opportunities flow without strain. Your health stabilizes, your mind clears, your energy expands. These are not coincidences. They are the visible effects of inner harmony restored. Harmony is the language of God. When you live in tune with it, everything that once seemed broken begins to make sense. You realize that peace was never something to find. It was what you were beneath the noise. The river does not fight to reach the sea, it simply flows. Likewise, your destiny requires no struggle, only surrender to divine rhythm. Emmet Fox said, "When man's will becomes God's will, he lives in heaven now." Heaven, then, is not a place, but a condition of alignment. It is the realization that the same power moving the stars is moving you. That nothing can truly oppose divine order, because divine order is all that exists. From that awareness, you act differently. You speak calmly. You walk more slowly. You trust more. You begin to sense when life says not yet, and understand it as love delaying what you are not yet ready to hold. And one day, without effort, you notice that your world mirrors your peace. The outer storm quiets, because the inner conductor has returned to the podium. Your life becomes music again, flowing, intelligent, alive. Harmony is not something you reach. It is what happens when you stop interfering with divine flow. The will of God and your own are not two. They are one movement expressed at different octaves. When they merge, you are free. So let this be your quiet vow. From this day forward, I choose harmony over control, peace over power, flow over fear. For in harmony, you remember your true nature, not a note among many, but the very song itself. But harmony leads to a higher realization still. For once your inner world is balanced, your outer world becomes a field of reflection. You begin to see that all life is one life, and every being is part of the same divine body. In the next chapter, we will enter Chapter 9, the unity of all life, where we explore the mystical truth that there is no separation, only the infinite seeing itself through infinite forms. Chapter 9, the unity of all life. Everything in existence breathes together. Every leaf that trembles, every star that burns, every heartbeat and every tide, all move within one vast rhythm, one infinite pulse. This is the great revelation. There is no separation. Life is one, endlessly expressing itself through infinite forms. Emmet Fox wrote that God is the only presence and the only power. If that is true, and it is, then everything that exists, including you, is an emanation of that presence. You are not apart from life, you are life becoming aware of itself. The illusion of separateness is the only darkness there is. It is the root of fear, hate, pride, and pain. And yet, the moment you remember your unity with all creation, the illusion dissolves like a mist before the sunrise. For in truth, there are no others. There is only the infinite gazing at itself through countless eyes. To know this is not to believe it intellectually, but to feel it, to sense that the same spirit breathing through your lungs breathes through the trees, the animals, the stranger, and the stars. To awaken to unity is to awaken to God. Yet humanity has forgotten. We speak of mine and yours, us and them. We build walls between nations, races, religions, and even hearts. We compete for what was never scarce. We fight for what was never lost. The world's suffering is not divine punishment, it is amnesia. We have forgotten that we are limbs of one body, notes of one chord. We treat others as separate, not realizing that every thought of hatred poisons the very mind that holds it. Emmet Fox said, "You cannot bless or curse another without blessing or cursing yourself, for we are one." The law of unity is exact. Whatever you do to another, you do to yourself, not symbolically, but literally, energetically, in the fabric of life. When you see someone suffer and turn away, you are turning from a part of your own soul. When you forgive another, you free yourself. When you bless another, you multiply your own light. This is why separation breeds pain. You cannot divide what God has made one without tearing the thread that holds your own being together. And yet, the healing of the world begins not with grand reformations, but with one individual who remembers, who decides to see God everywhere, in everyone, in everything. Then one day something happens. You look into another's eyes, and for a fleeting moment, you see yourself. Not the self of form, but the essence. The same light behind both masks. In that instant you understand, every person who has ever crossed your path was an encounter with God. Some came to mirror your love. Some came to reveal your shadows. All came to awaken you to unity. And you realize the same power that created galaxies is moving through you, thinking your thoughts, feeling your feelings, animating your being. You are not a small creature trying to reach heaven. You are heaven expressing itself through a form called you. The ocean does not envy the wave does not fear the ocean. They are one movement. So are you and God. This is the beginning of liberation, when the walls of identity collapse and you feel the sacred pulse of oneness within your chest. You are no longer praying to God. You are praying as God's awareness within creation. You are no longer seeking light. You are realizing you are the light, refracted through the prism of individuality. Here is how to live this unity consciously. First, practice seeing God everywhere. When you meet another person, silently affirm, "The same presence that lives in me lives in you." This silent recognition releases love, not sentiment, but truth. Second, stop opposing. When you resist others, you resist yourself. Instead, choose understanding. Ask, what part of me is this experience showing me? Every encounter is a mirror. Every conflict is an unhealed thought returning for redemption. Third, cultivate the vibration of compassion. Compassion does not excuse error. It sees beyond it. It perceives ignorance as temporary blindness, not permanent evil. To respond with compassion is to remember unity when others have forgotten it. Fourth, bless the world deliberately. Each morning, extend love to all beings, to those you know, to those you'll never meet, to those who hurt and those who heal. Visualize light expanding from your heart, touching everything alive. That light is real. It travels faster than thought, harmonizing consciousness wherever it touches. Fifth, remember that unity is not sameness. God delights in diversity, the one melody expressed in infinite keys. To honor unity is not to erase difference, but to see the divine pattern weaving through it all. As Emmet Fox wrote, "God is the great artist. His forms are endless, but his essence is one." When you begin to live this way, something profound happens. Fear disappears. jealousy dissolves, even death loses its sting. For how can what is one ever truly end? And so, after all the lessons, after mind, feeling, word, silence, understanding, and harmony, you arrive here, the still point of awareness that has always been. You discover that God was never far. He was the breath in your lungs, the thought in your mind, the love in your heart. He was the silence between your prayers and the answer within them. You see that life was never a struggle to reach the divine. It was the divine playing the game of remembering itself through you. This is the realization that ends all seeking. I and the Father are one. The universe is no longer something you live in. It is something you are. Every particle of existence vibrates with the same holy presence. Every soul you meet is another window of the infinite gazing back. To live in this awareness is to be free. Free from fear, from guilt, from separation. You move through the world gently, joyfully, without attachment, for you know that every form is temporary, but being itself is eternal. Emmet Fox said, "The presence of God is the only presence. The power of God is the only power. The mind of God is the only mind." And when you live in that knowing, even for one moment, you become the light that heals the world. You realize that the mind of Christ was never a doctrine. It was the remembrance of unity, the understanding that heaven is not a place, but a state of being, and that being begins now, in you, through you, as you. There is nothing left to seek. You have returned to the source, not as a traveler reaching a destination, but as the ocean remembers its own waves. All is one, and that one is love. Epilogue, the return to the beginning. And now, as this journey draws to its close, you return to the place where it began, the silent space within your own mind. The same stillness that listened at the beginning now listens again, but something has changed. You are no longer the seeker. You are the one who has remembered. You came to learn about the mind of Christ and discovered that it was not a concept to master, but a consciousness to awaken. It is the quiet certainty that there is only one presence, one power, one life, expressing itself through every thought, every breath, every heartbeat. You have learned that your mind is the temple, your word is the law, your feeling is the magnet, your silence is the altar, and your faith, the golden bridge between heaven and earth. Now, wherever you go, carry this awareness. The Christ mind is not above you, it is not beyond you. It is you, the eternal spark of divine intelligence living itself through form. Emmet Fox said, "The realization of the presence of God is the most wonderful experience you can ever have." Let that realization guide you, so that even when the world grows loud, you remain anchored in peace, seeing order where others see chaos and love where others see fear. For this is the final truth. You were never separate from God. You were never lost. You were never less than whole. The journey was not about becoming divine. It was about remembering that you already are. And now, with the mind renewed, the heart illumined, and the soul at rest, you walk not beside the light, but as the light. All is well, all is one, and that one is love.